Welcome to the Rising Woman Leaders podcast. We are a sisterhood of women stepping into courage, self-love, and feminine leadership. I'm your host, Meredith Ram, and here I'll be sharing personal insights as well as interviews with inspiring leaders and entrepreneurs so you can create more daily magic in your life and also grow your business without losing sight of spiritual values as a rising woman leader. If you like this podcast, use our hashtag Rising Woman Leaders, follow me on Instagram at Meredith Ram, and sign up for email updates at risingwomanleaders.com. You'll receive all the new and inspiring content, including insights I only share on email. Now get cozy with a cup of tea, light a candle, and grab a journal to listen to this week's magical radio podcast. Hi everyone, I wanted to announce the winner of the New Year giveaway. It was so fun getting to read all your podcast reviews. I'm so grateful I got to hear some of your stories. Yesterday I put all the names in a hat and sat and meditated for a few moments and asked the universe to lead me to the result that would be of the highest good for all. And the name that I pulled is Ksenia. Ksenia shared, Meredith is a true podcast unicorn. She is able to weave the real talk with such softness, grace, and light. Every podcast is unique, inspiring, and full of wisdom and love. I am full of gratitude for this heart and soul warming channel and all the women who participated in conversation with Meredith and everyone who is listening to this amazing thread. Feels like more than a podcast on iTunes, but a supportive community of rising women and big sisters. Looking forward to new episodes and possibly a video version one day. Much love. Congratulations, Ksenia. You can email hello@meredithram.com to get all set up to schedule your coaching session. I also decided to pull a second name as a runner-up. And the name that I pulled was Joker of the Nines. And this person wrote a beautiful review speaking specifically about my podcast with Danelle Naraki. She shared about the cervical wellness and wellness that makes us women. And I reached out to Danelle and asked if she would be open to offering a free coaching session to you. So Joker of the Nines, if you're out there, you can also email hello@meredithram.com to connect with Danelle and set up a free session with her. And thank you again to all the amazing women who entered the giveaway. It was really just opened my heart to get to read what you all shared. And as a reminder, it's never too late to write a review for us for Rising Women Leaders on iTunes. Positive reviews will only continue to support this community to grow and thrive. Sending you all so much love. I hope you enjoy today's show. I wanted to give you all an update on the book that I have been writing for the past few years. Many of you have been following through the launch of my Kickstarter campaign where we raised over $10,000 to bring this book to life and to publish it. It's in the works now and going to be released officially August 22nd, 2017. And all the Kickstarter supporters who support it are going to be getting an early copy in the summer. I'm going to be sharing the introduction of the book today on this episode, and I'm also going to be announcing a new title. So after much contemplation, research, and discussion with my publisher, colleagues, the target audience for this book, reading the advice I received back from surveying my Kickstarter supporters, and then tuning into my own stillness and listening to the wisdom of my heart, I decided to change the title of my book from Synchronicity to Just Be, A Search for Self-Love in India. Very little will actually change in the content of the book. I still share about synchronistic events and happenstance, but I'm seeing how synchronicity fits in as a natural side effect when we tap into a space of just being, releasing our attachments and allowing the events of the universe to unfold magically around us. This was quite an unexpected turn of events for me last December, but I am feeling ever more resonant with this new title and direction. After reading through the book just last week, I saw how present the theme of just being is shared throughout. It took having an outside perspective of when I began work with my publisher to point this out to me. I believe the message of just being is so relevant and needed at this time in a world where we are so focused on achieving and doing. This belief was affirmed to me a couple weeks ago when I received an email from one of our podcast listeners, Claire. She wrote in response to a newsletter I sent out about letting go of goals and action plans for this new year, and rather asking how we can bring more love, gentleness, and service to every moment. She said, when your email came in, I was initially afraid to open it. I was afraid that I was going to see yet another mention about New Year resolutions, which would in turn make me feel shitty about the lack of my own. I had already seen plenty, and I was just about done feeling bad. I opened your email, and it was the comforting hug that I needed, to remind me of that whisper in my heart that told me to spend more time nurturing myself, taking better care of myself. After your email, I continued having similar signs pop up everywhere, telling me that it's okay not to have everything figured out, and it's okay to take it slow, to just be. So to tell the whole story, back in early December, a few days after signing all the paperwork to begin work with my publishing team, I had a divination session with my friend Alex. He set a sacred space and he led me through a process of connecting to my spirit guides, where we were able to ask questions for guidance in my life. One of the topics that came through in this reading was about my book. He shared quite directly, beginning work with your publisher may be an emotional process, and you're going to be asked to release your attachments to the outcome. A few days later, I received an email from my publisher, subject, your title, message, for a few reasons we would really love to suggest changing the title of your book. At that moment, my heart sank. I got on the phone with the publisher right away to hear more about their concerns and to express my opinions. And the woman that I was talking to, she wanted something more direct, something that was short, to the point, something that would immediately speak to what the reader would be able to take away from reading it. At the end of the day, she told me I had final word on the title, and she asked me to look at where my attachments lay and ask what was best for the book. What would speak most to my ideal reader? What is she really seeking? What would allow this book to reach a broad audience who may need it? I laughed to myself because literally the last sentence I had written in my book was, if I was able to release my attachments to the outcome, I knew everything would fall into place. Over the next week, I prayed, I asked for guidance, I offered my attachments to the ocean, and I asked the universe for a sign. I then found myself recording a podcast interview with Achintya Devi, who many of you have probably listened to. It's called The Call of the Goddess. Achintya is an amazing woman in the world of women's spirituality and empowerment. I highly recommend listening to that episode if you haven't yet. But when we were recording it, we actually had quite a few technical difficulties. We were getting disconnected. We were trying to get on the same line. I was using a new recording system. We were using different links. About 15 to 20 minutes passed while we were just starting to try to begin the interview. And frustrated, I found myself saying a new mantra over and over in my mind without realizing it. Just be. Just be. Just be. Within a moment, Achintya came on the line and we recorded a powerful interview to close out 2016. Just Be happened to be one of the titles the publisher had suggested. And in that moment, I knew this was probably the sign I was asking for. I thought more about what I wanted for the woman I wrote this book for. I want her to experience a life full of magic and synchronicity. But maybe even more than that, I want her to experience what it is to just be. to fully accept herself as she is, and from that place of presence, self-love, and acceptance, to follow her dreams and experience deep connection and synchronicity, but from a place of really truly tuning in, finding stillness and silence, and listening to her heart. After all of this happened, I went into a 10-day silent meditation retreat where I watched the busyness of my mind and found myself coming back again and again to this new mantra, just be. I know some of you may still prefer the old title of Synchronicity, and I completely understand that. I also love that title and that concept. And so this is what I ask of you, is to just have an open heart and an open mind and see how this new mantra, just be, may come to play in your life. This whole experience has really shown me the power of releasing my attachments, and how very often when we release those attachments, we end up with a solution that is even more in alignment. Who knew the process of publishing a book full with spiritual lessons would be so full of spiritual lessons? So now we are just finalizing the cover design. It's completely new and beautiful and different. I'm really excited about it. And the manuscript is in the copy editing process right now. So someone is reading it through again for after many times of going through editing. It's going through another round. I'm going to be receiving that back within the next week, reading it through again, and then we go into proofreading, inside page design, and finally into the printing. I'm going to take a moment to also read the introduction of the book to you, which I think will give you a really great taste of just how this new title, Just Be, fits in. And I wrote this introduction just a day after coming out of my 10-day Vipassana retreat. So here's the introduction to Just Be. We all have access to an infinite source of wisdom that lies in our bodies. The first time I set foot on a yoga mat and began to really let myself feel the intensity of sensations and emotions that were lying beneath the surface, I wanted to run away. At first, I avoided going back to yoga class, hoping that distractions like sugar or prescription pills from my doctor would take away my suffering instead. Fortunately, I soon realized that repressing or distracting myself from my emotions and sensations caused just as much and often even more suffering. It was then I knew running away was no longer an option. Through allowing myself to just be with my sensations and my breath, my journey began and this book emerged. When I found that place of stillness, of silence, a space of no desires, no attachments, of pure witnessing presence without any need to change myself or my life, I formed a connection with the one place I can always rely on, my body, my breath, and my own innate wisdom. From that place, I began to listen deeply and to take action. I found the courage to take bigger leaps, follow my callings, and love myself through my challenges. It was then that the magic of life, a realization that the universe was conspiring in my favor to give me the exact experiences I needed to heal, helped me discover a deep, pervasive connectedness to everything and everyone around me, and a trust in a force greater than myself. My hope for you is to connect to a place of stillness and love within, a place where there is nothing you need to change, a place where you can love yourself no matter what thoughts, challenges, or situations arise. And from that place, to take steps forward, to follow your own inner callings, and to know that whatever happens in life, you'll be able to come back to this stillness and self-love. Sometimes life gets hard. It's inevitable. But if there's one thing I've learned through the years, it's that if I can sit with the intensity of any emotion, any difficult sensation, and retain equanimity, everything will be okay. The nature of these sensations Indeed, all challenges of life are impermanent, arising and passing away. This insight was confirmed during a conversation with my friend Karen at the end of our 10-day silent meditation retreat taught by S.N. Goenka. She had asked one of the teachers a question about the pain she was experiencing in her body, hoping that through feeling her pain, she would find relief, and one day, just maybe, her pain would go away and never come back. The teacher looked her right in the eye and said, "Billions and billions of times better than your pain suddenly going away would be you continuing to have pain for the rest of your life and no longer suffering through your reaction to it. The point is not to push away our pain, but rather allow ourselves to just be through whatever arises." I chose to retain the real names of the saints and sages in this book. If you decide to further study their teachings, I ask you do so with the purest intentions and utmost respect. In a similar vein, if you visit places that are mentioned in this book, know that every experience is unique and your own journey will unfold, most likely very differently from my own. We are each on a distinct and remarkable path to liberation, and no one person's journey can ever be recreated. And that is part of the beauty of it. I write in my time in India not to speak on behalf of an organization or teacher, or to encourage others to follow my footsteps, but rather to authentically share the magical events and synchronicities I experienced when I tuned into my body's wisdom and listened to the guidance I found there. Most of the names in this book have been changed out of respect for the privacy of the people I met on my path, except for Shankara, who gave his blessing and now travels the world under one of his many other names now. Each chapter begins with a mantra, a short phrase with a sacred vibration that you can repeat in your mind to bring yourself back to the present moment. I discovered these mantras through my travels, and you'll learn their meanings throughout the stories. The chapter titles are written in Sanskrit, except for the last chapter, which is written in Pali, the language spoken during the time Buddha walked the earth. I invite you to use these mantras in your life as little seeds of wisdom, leading you to your own discoveries. So from there in the book, I go on to share all about the experiences I had from living 6 months in India. This time of my life was about 5 years ago, and it was really the beginning of everything for me. It was soon after I discovered yoga, and I share the stories of all that I learned visiting different spiritual teachers and gurus. It's also a story of love. It's a story of forgiveness, of acceptance. And I really look forward to sharing it with you when it comes out in this summer. I am so grateful for you being here, listening to this podcast. Thank you for bearing witness to this journey and for just being as you are. Namaste.